Evening, we are Team C. Our project is to developing a mobile game, Build. At the very beginning, during the design phase, we figure out how to handle data manipulation, or I would say how to present or querying your data in a structured way. And the final decision is to using SQL with database. And at the very beginning, we was advised by the instructor that using the Unity as the main development tools. So we start to learn the Unity Studio, and I would say we still are very keen to the Unity Studio. So how Unity react with database, and we found an original class in the Unity. We can pass on to the PHP server, and PHP server will interact with DB and feedback to the client. So we can query data or update data in a structured way. Why we use SQL? Actually, we want the information exchange and processing time and front-end calculation of programming to be minimized. Below function will show you how to achieve or fulfill this objective. For the authentication function, you can take a look in the code about the SQL code. We will find the user and password to check for a record. If there is a valid record, the PHP server will ask the DB server to fetch some useful information. And the Unity front-end side, it can use Unity have a very strong local storage function called pair patterns. You can store the fetch data into the pair patterns for future use. It means that you can call such of data. If you want this data to be used in the future, you just call your local storage, and then it can fulfill or minimize the information exchange. For the registration function, it's just similar to the authentication. And how it can minimize the data processing. It will firstly check against, I would say, the username was the example. If the username existing in the record, it will stop your data or account creation. And so how SQL can minimize the front-end calculation and programming? There are two functions it can show them. So, there are two functions you can show them. A SQL is strong in data analytics. If you want to do some analytic functions, such for the random pair selection, this function will use your username, which is stored maybe in database or pair preference, and query for your level, and find a specific level range and select your enemies or opponents. But if you try to imagine that if you store data in a text file, then it's very complicated. You need to look through the whole table. But if you're using SQL, you just look at the bottom. There are between functions, which are easy to find the level range, and just apply one more order by when function, the record or the opponent you want to look up in a random sequence. And finally, if you want to limit the record to return, just apply limit to 1 or whatever number what you want. And there is another function, calculate the country win rate. Just like last example, we could query for text file, and this time you need to query across multiple test files, then the case will be very, very complicated. SQL allows you to join table and add subquery and some calculation just inside one statement. Then you can artifact your record result just like the bottom table and fed that to the Unity frontend. What the frontend needs to do is just write a function to read each record and assign it to the game object of the elements. So I will demonstrate the flow. Firstly, I will create an account.
So the second row is the password, and the third row is the confirm password for the input data. And so he choose the country, he choose USA, and then
when I try to register your account registration with existing record, you will get a message that already exists. So
in the database, the username has already existed, so it responds to the front end. Yeah, and he tried a new username that hasn't existed. So successful response will be made, and then when he click to, and then he will back to the login scene, and he try to log in the system.
But then we'll see using a wrong password.
So it's a wrong password actually. And then a wrong message response will be created, and then that's how it works.
The next part is vehicle construction that we pass to Samson.
Okay, so for the vehicle construction, after weeks and weeks of development, so the whole construction from nothing, you can see there's nothing here, and it becomes a scene with a little bit of graphical presentation, and I would like to show you here. So first, before of the vehicle construction, you need to select a country to battle with. So assuming your user chose China as your countries, so you need to battle, either China but you are China, so you are battling against USA or Japan. So you can choose between them, and let's say I choose Japan here, and then now I'm going to construct my vehicle. So you can see the red circle, or the red square. So it's kind of core. It's a core unit. If it's being attacked by the enemy, the total HP will be reduced. And then, so here's you can see a margin there. If I okay, so back to here. So if I trying to reach the margin, it will return to the maximum position here, and then when I drag some figure here, and then it will have some physical reaction. So it's like a block, and then you step above them, and then you can click once and change the rotation of the gun or the weapons. And then also, if I trying to put more of them, you can see it won't collide each other. So it kind of able to bring different physical reaction amongst different kinds of things. So yeah, like for some defense, like a wood block, and then the elements is being able to step above them. And then you see there are some simple graphics logics here. And if after I press clear all, and then everything will be cleared, and then you can see those details there. It's the name of them of the elements, the type is a range, and how much it costs. You can see there's a money panel here, such that if I keep continuous deploying elements here, and you can see the money is it keep decreasing, and finally you can able to drag anything here, and then you can drag it outside the margin to delete or just clear all. And then let's say I want to save a file. Let's say I want to save it here, and then after I clear all, I can still able to access my saved files. Yeah, it's applied to free save files. So yeah, I can do it something like that. And then yeah, after I created my vehicle, I will actually press battle, and then I will enter a battle scene here. So and it will be further discussed. And you can see after I press Japan, it appears Japan. And after I press let's say USA, and then yeah, the background changed. And then so for the vehicle construction, we actually able to build several element prototypes. You see some minions with different kinds of weapons and some defense, some roof box. And then we implement some simple panels, so you can drag and drop different kinds of elements and do some modification. And we add some physical reaction to amongst different kinds of elements. So when there's some collision between two minions, so they won't happen. So nothing will happen. But if you step on a roof block, so it will trigger a collision, and then it won't drop. And then yeah, we have implement some simple rotation and some markup calculation, and then some file I/O actually. And instead of keep extending our game content, we are trying to keep generalizing our codings, so it will be very clean and very structured, organized. So it will be much more easier for us to implement more complicated game content for further development. So yeah, we are trying to build a very general algorithm here. And then yeah, these are the game elements that we have drawn and designed, and sure, we will going to implement more of them, maybe even distinguish them between by countries or different situations, different weapons. And we have different backgrounds also. And then now let's move on to the battle scene.
Okay, so for the battle scene to happen, first we have to consider the user and the opponents. So how does that interaction works? It actually begins with two health bar, which is telling us which user or which opponents that has a certain amount of health. So, and also you have noticed that there will be minions, or those white cute little guys standing on the vehicles. Those are one of the consideration when we designing them, because they consist of different classes, such as sword, mage, archer, or gunner. And we will keep on designing more and more characters for the game. And also, what about the character stats? Maybe some of them would have better health, or some of them would have higher attack. And later on, we will consider some projectiles for ranged attacks, such as bullets, arrows, and magic attacks. Those are all needed to be scripted and programmed, organized to make the game playable. So if you guys notice that on the top, on the GIF on the top is the very beginning of our design, which is simulating the collision between two vehicles. But there's a lot improvement that we can do. And currently, what we can do is in the below. You can see there will be much more elements with the core, with the wood blocks, with the minions. So it adds the variety of the game. And for the main objective of the game, it actually asks the user to eliminate the opponent's vehicles or eliminate the core as soon as possible. Because when you either using attacks to attack the core, or depends on the collision between the vehicles, it will also deduct opponent's health. So for the different characters, we will design different class for them. But because of they are coming from the similar class with similar design, such as they have health, they have attack, they have attack speed. So we construct a very basic class for different characters, and then we extend it with different stat to make the minions with different classes will behave differently. And also, we have also designed some attacks for different minions, such as arrow attack and bullet attack, as I mentioned. And these are needed to be scripted to provide some feedback to the user that the collision or the damage has been done to the opponents. So, if you notice that on the left-hand side, the GIF is showing two minions actually swing the sword. It is done by making an animation of a simple minion swinging the sword, and we add attack box later on. Because as you can see, for different minions, they will have a small hitbox for identifying where they are in the game, and the small attack box is used to identify a collision event between the enemy hitbox. So we have coded that the attack box will move with the sword. And for the future development, of course, we are going to further improve our game in the future, and we are going to continue our work in the summer, and we will add different types of elements. We might add on some more better graphics, better battle system, and we might also add some shopping system in the game, like in-app purchase to provide some funny user experience when they're trying to get more new stuff, like new skins for the vehicle or new element that is special that need to be randomly drawn. And so this is okay. And here we'll be demonstrating how the battle scene works. So we simply drag some. Okay. So we simply drag some minions and blocks into vehicle, and then we save the enemy. So the enemy vehicle will look like this.
So because it's just for demonstration, we will actually do the enemy construction and the player construction at the same time. So we distribute it. Yeah.
So now, if we have to construct our own vehicle, we have to press player off first, and then let me design my vehicle here. Like this. So
There are some bugs here, but you can see for the same implementation, this vehicle is actually mirrored. So it's kind of very heavy stuff here, and then you can see the game projectile actually collide each other, so it will destroy the elements, and then it's a rotation. And then let's say I want to rotate a figure, and then just press, yeah, and do some rotation like this, and then you will see the projectile will be moved according to your rotation. So we understand that it's kind of like a very simple interface right now, but in the summer or we are planning to launch it before the end of this year. We are aiming at launching a very complete game system, and here's just a very basic structure here. And then yeah, that's the demonstration.